The key to meditation is learning how to stay. Yes or no? Yes. Oh my God. So now, there's mind and there's body. And because of Descartes, who was very interested in getting the cadavers from the church so that he could do his own experiments and dissections, he said, okay, how can we do this so that I continue doing my work and not really offend the church? Well, let's separate mind and body. Mind is way too convoluted. It's too unpredictable. It's too complicated. I'm going to give that to the sphere of religion. I'm going to give the mind to religion, and we'll take the body, and that will go to the sphere of science. And so we created this dualism. But I have to tell you that there's never a time where your body isn't influencing your mind, and there's never a time where your mind isn't influencing your body. You have a mind in your body, and you have a body mapped in your brain and mind. Are you with me still? Yes. So they coexist. Would you agree? Yes. They're not separate. So you know that you think certain thoughts that produce certain feelings. Those feelings drive certain thoughts, and you create a state of being. So you have a thought, and the moment you have a thought, there's a biochemical reaction in your brain, yes? Then the brain releases certain chemical signals that are transmitted to the body. The thoughts that are produced from those chemicals allow your body to begin to feel exactly the way you were just thinking. Are you with me still? According to your thoughts. So we could say then, your thought literally becomes matter. It becomes chemicals. Yes? Yes. Now, the moment you begin to feel the way you think, something amazing happens. Those chemical signals that are running through your body are being monitored by your brain. The brain's checking in with the body because it's not separate. And the moment the brain starts to notice the body's feeling certain ways, it generates more corresponding thoughts equal to how it's feeling. So thinking creates feeling, and feeling creates thinking. Yes or no? Yes. So then, the more you think the same thoughts, reason this with me, the more you produce the same chemicals. Yes or no? Yes. The more you produce the same chemicals, the more you feel the same way. Yes? And if feelings and emotions are the end product of experiences in your environment, and it's the environment that signals the gene, as long as you're feeling the same way every single day, there's no new information from your environment, and you're going to keep signaling the same gene. Are you with me still? So then, if you take a series of thoughts that are connected to a series of feelings and you cluster them together, you're going to create what's called an attitude. Are you with me still? Yes. You have a series of good thoughts that are connected to a series of good feelings. You say to your buddy, hey, I have a pretty good attitude today. I want to hang out. Yep. But if you have a series of negative thoughts that are connected to some pretty bad feelings, you say, I have a pretty bad attitude today. Yes? Yes. So if how you think and how you feel creates your state of being, then attitudes are just shortened states of being. You have a good attitude in the morning on Monday and a bad attitude in the morning on Tuesday. Yes or no? Yes. So then you think a thought like my boss is unfair. You turn on a set of circuits in your brain. I'm underpaid. You get another set of circuits firing. I'm not appreciated. And all of a sudden, all the chorus jumps in. I'm overlooked. And of course, nobody listens to me. You get enough networks of neurons firing in your brain, you're going to produce a level of mind. Mind is the brain in action. The moment they fire in tandem, you get an internal representation, an image of yourself that you think you are. If you accept, believe, and surrender to that image, that thought of yourself, neurotransmitters in your brain begin to influence neuropeptides made in the chemical brain or the emotional brain, and now you're sending a neurochemical signal down to a hormonal center. And which hormonal center do you activate? The third center of the adrenal glands. The moment you start producing adrenaline, you begin to feel pretty angry, pretty aggressive, pretty judgmental. You with me still? Yep. Now you're broadcasting energy into the field through the center, and you're saying, send me another reason to be angry, but bring it in a way that I least expect, that surprises me. Now, the brain's monitoring that you're feeling angry, so it's going to generate more consistent thoughts equal to how you feel. Are you with me still? Firing and wiring the same thoughts in the same way, hardwiring your brain into the habit of being angry. Are you with me still? You get enough networks of neurons firing in a sequence, pattern, and combination, here we go again. You're going to reaffirm the ideal of yourself, the image of yourself. And if the thought that you're thinking, you're holding that image to the exclusion of everything else, the thought that you're thinking, the vision, becomes the experience. And the end product of the experience is called an emotion. And neuropeptides then will be whipped up in the hypothalamus, and it'll send a very specific chemical signal right down to the adrenal glands. And now you're taking thought and you're storing all of that energy as an emotion in that third center. Are you with me still? And the body is becoming the mind of anger. Are you with me still? Broadcasting that signature into the field. You're letting that aggressive energy go, broadcasting it, but now your brain is monitoring your body, and it's going to generate more consistent thoughts equal to how you're feeling. Are you with me still? And you know, if you accept, believe, and surrender to these thoughts without any analysis, you are going to consistently reaffirm your identity. Are you with me still? So now, here we go. The thought, the image of yourself, is who you think you are, and you accept, believe, and surrender to that thought. And without analyzing it, it makes it right to the autonomic nervous system, and you're programming your autonomic nervous system into a destiny. Are you with me still? Yes. And that energy now is being stored in your third center. The thought is being stored as an emotion, as energy in your third center. And the body's becoming the mind of aggression, of anger. Are you with me still? Yes. So people can do this for 10 or 20 or 30 or 40 or 50 or 60 years. Are you with me still? And the body now is running the show. But you can think different thoughts and turn on a different set of networks in your brain to produce a different level of mind. If you get enough networks of neurons firing a sequence, pattern, or combination, you are going to create an internal representation of yourself, a hologram in your frontal lobe of who you think you are. And the moment that image of yourself is accepted, believed, and surrendered to without any analysis, you're suggestible to that image. You're going to program your autonomic nervous system to make a different batch of neuropeptides equal to those thoughts. Are you listening still? To that level of mind. And now, all of a sudden, it whips up a different batch of neuropeptides, and it has a different agenda. It's going to go to a different hormonal center. And where do people feel guilt? Right there in their gut. Are you with me still? So now the person's taking thought and storing it as energy emotionally in that second center. They're broadcasting a signature into the field, and all of a sudden the brain is monitoring how they're feeling, and the brain is going to think more corresponding thoughts exactly equal to how they feel. Are you with me still? This is the Italian grandmother syndrome right here. If you get enough networks of neurons firing a sequence, pattern, in combination, you're going to reaffirm the image of yourself. You're going to actually believe this is you right here. Watch. Watch the face. That's you. So then now you actually live as that. You act as it, you think like it, you feel like it. It becomes your state of being. Are you with me still? And of course now the cycle can go on and on and on. And you are conditioning the body to become the mind of suffering, of guilt, of victimization. And all of that energy is being stored in the second center. Are you with me still? Yes. And people get caught in these loops to such an extent that the hardwired thoughts slip by their awareness on a daily basis. The emotions, of course, of feeling guilty or feeling bad is just who they think they are. They don't even know that they're feeling guilty. It just feels normal to them. Are you with me still? Firing and wiring those circuits, hardwiring in the brain, and then emotionally conditioning the body to the past, to the mind of guilt. Are you with me still? So all the energy, all that creative energy is stored in that second center. Does that make sense? Now, ladies, this is for the men, just to keep their attention. You could fire a different set of circuits in your brain to produce a different level of mind. If you get enough networks of neurons firing in a sequence, pattern, and combination, and they fire in tandem, you'll get a different image of yourself, of who you think you are. And the moment that image of yourself is in your brain and you accept, believe, and surrender to it without any analysis, the thought that you're thinking in your brain is going to slip right past your analytical mind and stimulate your autonomic nervous system to produce a different batch of chemicals. And it's going to signal a different hormonal center. Yes or no? Yes. And the moment it signals that hormonal center, the body's going to start responding to the mind. Yes? The moment the person is feeling that way, they're going to think more corresponding thoughts. And they're broadcasting energy out of that center. You know what I'm talking about, yeah? Has its own frequency, its own information. The brain is monitoring it. Now listen, I've had my animator change this 3 times. The first one was very, very out of the box. And I showed it in London, and I was like, oh my God. I called him up. I said, would you change that? He said, well, you told me to make up whatever I wanted. I said, yeah, but I didn't. So you get enough networks of neurons firing, you reaffirm the ideal of who you think you are. You really think you're that. And then, of course, the thought in your mind becomes the experience produces an emotion, and now you're taking all of that creative energy and you are storing it in that center. The body's becoming the mind of a sexual identity. Are you with me still? And people, of course, can do this for years on end. Yes? And all of that energy is being stored in the first 3 centers of the body. Now, first 3 centers of the body have everything to do with survival. There's nothing wrong with it. Nature made procreation and reproduction very pleasurable, so people keep doing it. The species continues. Consumption and eating should be pleasurable, safe to eat. Oh my God. Oh. Wow. Well, you get the idea. The third center, when you overcome the conditions in your life and you succeed, you feel really good about that. When you overcome something, there's a feeling of joy and pleasure that happens with it. But when we're overutilizing these centers, we're storing all the energy in the first 3 centers, and nobody feels love anymore. Right? All the energy is trapped in the first 3 centers. You got it? So then the body becomes the mind. When feelings become the means of thinking, you can't think greater than how you feel. You're addicted to some emotion, or you neurochemically memorized an emotion. Now that's part of your personality. Are you with me still? So look, here's a magnet. A magnet has a north pole and a south pole. Yes? The body is actually a magnet, and it has a north pole and the south pole. And Asian cultures have known this for thousands and thousands of years. And there's a current that actually travels through the body that can be mapped. And just like a magnet, it should be producing a field. So then here's a magnet, here's a north pole, and here's a south pole. And there's an invisible electromagnetic field that exists around the magnet. The stronger the polarity, or the more current that's flowing through there, the bigger the field. So then if you took a piece of paper and set it down, and then you took metal shavings and you put it on top of a piece of paper, and then you put another piece of paper on top of it and you put a magnet on top of it, those metal shavings would organize themselves in the pattern of that electromagnetic field. So energy is having an effect on matter. So the Earth has its own electromagnetic field. It has a north pole and it has a south pole. And its electromagnetic field protects the Earth from the sun's radiation. And when the sun releases mass coronal ejections, trillions of tons of photons, in a solar flare that's being hurled towards the Earth, it's the electromagnetic belts, or the field around the Earth, that protects it from the radiation. Are you with me still? Yes. And then when it hits those particular electromagnetic fields, it's called the Northern Lights. I took this picture off a front page of a newspaper when I was in Toronto a couple years ago, and this was the Northern Lights the evening I was there. Isn't nature beautiful? So then, think about this. Come on. If 5% of who you are is your conscious mind, energy stored in the brain and mind, and 95% of who you are is programmed subconsciously, where the body is the mind, are you listening closely? Then you have a lot of energy stored in the body, and it's disproportionate to the mind, yes or no? Yes. Now reason this. If you're living by the hormones of stress, and that's 70% of the time, and you're drawing from this invisible field of energy, and you're turning it into chemistry, or you're living in survival, and you're over-consuming, you're overeating, you're over-stressed, you're over-sexual, and you keep drawing from this field and turning it into chemistry, the field around your body is going to shrink, yes or no? Yes. And if you're thinking and feeling and feeling and thinking and caught up in this loop, and you're conditioning the body to become the mind of those emotions, then you pretty much are a piece of metal with no charge. Did you get that? You're not a magnet anymore. The body's no longer a magnet. It's just a piece of metal with no charge, because now you have all this energy stored in the body, and because we feel more like matter and less like energy, we have very little energy in the brain, then there is no charge in the body, because the body is the mind of that particular state, being matter. Are you with me still? Yes. Did you get that? Yes. So then, there's gotta be a way to run a current through the body and also begin to liberate this energy. Would you agree? Yes. So then, is there a way to begin to pull the mind out of the body and ascend that energy and turn it into pure energy instead of guilt, instead of suffering, instead of anger, instead of aggression? Are you with me still? Yes. Now check this out. Right down here at the base of your spine, you have a bone that looks like an upside-down triangle that's called your sacrum bone. Did you ever hear of it? Yes. It looks like an upside-down triangle, and it has a plateau. And on that plateau sits the spinal column. And it protects spinal cord, and it goes right up to your brain, and then there's this ivory cavern that protects your brain. You with me still? Yes. So now, that closed system, bony structures, the skull, the spinal column, and the sacrum, protects the most delicate system in your body called the central nervous system. The central nervous system is your brain and your spinal cord. Are you with me still? Yes. Now, your central nervous system controls and coordinates all other systems in your body. You couldn't blink your eyes, you couldn't digest your food, you couldn't move your body, you couldn't eliminate your waste, you couldn't do anything without the aid of your nervous system. It's the wires that run the machine. Are you with me still? Yes. Now, inside that closed system, there are filters in the brain that filter blood and make a substance called cerebral spinal fluid. Are you with me still? Yes. Now, cerebral spinal fluid is inside this closed system, and it's a fluid that creates buoyancy for the central nervous system. It protects it against trauma. It allows certain chemicals and molecules to flow from one part of the nervous system to the other through rivers and channels, distributes chemistry. And it facilitates electrical charges, electrical current in the nervous system. It enhances conductivity. Are you with me still? Yes. So now check this out. If we were just having a glass of wine and we were talking, every time you inhale, this sacrum bone slowly flexes back. And when you exhale, it flexes forward. At the same exact time when you inhale, the sutures of your skull that fit together like this, when you inhale, they slowly open up and they slowly close. Are you with me still? So then if I take this bone back here called your sacrum bone and I flex it back and I flex it forward, and at the same time my skull is opening and closing, there's a little pumping mechanism going on here. And all of a sudden you start propagating this wave. And it's moving that cerebral spinal fluid slowly up. You with me still? And as the skull does this, it's pushing the fluid down. It's distributing that fluid. So if you were to tag one molecule of cerebral spinal fluid and watch it in a healthy person go all the way up, it would go all the way up to the brain, it would go through 4 cerebral aqueducts, 4 different chambers of the brain, 4 ventricles, and then return all the way back down. It would take 12 hours for that to happen. So you flush your brain twice a day. You got that? Now, in this work, we do a very specific breath to pull the mind out of the body and liberate that energy, to free the body from the past. Because if the emotion is stored in the body is in the past. Are you with me still? So then what would happen if you were to contract your intrinsic muscles, your perineum, your lower abdomen and upper abdomen? What if you were to contract those muscles and squeeze them in? You know where your perineum is? It's the space between things down there. It's your pelvic floor. The muscles you use for elimination and intercourse, you're going to use those same muscles in a different way. Are you with me still? So what would happen if you were to lock down each one of those muscles that are connected to these first three centers and squeeze them in? If you squeeze them in, which way is that fluid going to go? Up. Yes? Yes. So then, what if you were to place your attention on the top of your head right here? Because where you place your attention is where you place your... So that's your target. Are you with me still? Now, what if you were to take one slow, steady breath and at the same time inhale through your nose with the intention of pulling the mind out of the body and ascending your energy? Are you with me still? If you were to inhale through your nose and at the same time lift these muscles up and in and begin to breathe and keep your attention on the top of your head, as you squeeze these muscles and you breathe, you begin to accelerate that cerebral spinal fluid. Are you with me still? Yes. Now, if you take cerebral spinal fluid and you look at it, it's made of proteins and salts in solution. And the moment you take proteins and salts and you drop them in solution, they develop a charge. They're charged molecules. You with me still? So now you have these charged molecules that are moving very slowly up and down, and all of a sudden you're contracting and inhaling, you're accelerating them. You with me? Now, where's my engineers and physicists in the audience? What happens when you accelerate a charged molecule? When you accelerate a charged molecule, you create what's called an inductance field, a circular field that's moving up like this along the axis of the accelerated charged molecule. You with me still? I'm not making this stuff up. If you accelerate many charged molecules, you will produce a bigger, stronger field. Yes or no? So information is going from your brain to your body and body to brain up and down this fiber optic cable called your spinal cord. You with me still? You know, your bladder's full, you got things to do, as your information is going up and down, you're hungry, all that stuff is taking place. When you inhale and you contract all of those muscles and you draw that energy up and you start accelerating all these charged molecules and you create this inductance field like this, which way is the energy going to go from the body? And all of the energy you use for orgasm, to make a baby, ejaculation, digesting a meal, all the energy you use in survival and in stress, instead of it being released out, it's going to be released up. Are you with me still? And you are going to wake up a sleeping dragon. And when this energy starts to move, it is a moving freight train. And when that energy finally erupts, your sympathetic nervous system is going to switch on. And when it switches on, it's going to ejaculate that energy right up towards your brain. Are you listening? Yes. I'm using words that you can relate with. We are on the East Coast of the United States. And all of a sudden, as that energy starts to move up, here goes all the guilt. You are taking that energy, that emotion that's stagnant and stored in your body, and you are liberating it like an alchemist. Base metals, limited emotions, into elevated emotions, into gold. And you got to go after it. And you got to have a commitment and intensity that's greater than your addiction to guilt. You listening? You got to use your body as an instrument of consciousness, and you got to be more energy than matter when you do it, and you got to become inspired. Are you listening closely? Now, as you start working this energy and you keep doing the breath, as you keep doing it, all of a sudden, when that sympathetic nervous system switches on and merges right with the parasympathetic nervous system, and all of a sudden you'll start feeling very different. And just like an orgasm, you know when it's going to happen. You can start feeling this energy starting to go. And all I want you to do is surrender into it. Because the moment that sympathetic nervous system switches on and it's driving that energy up to your brain, a gate in the brainstem opens up called the thalamic gate. And the moment it opens up, the reticular formation, this net-like web of nuclei right in the brainstem that's editing information and filtering information from your brain to your body, just pops wide open. And all of a sudden, all that energy from your body is now like a champagne bottle going back up into your brain. And the moment it hits your brain, the brain goes into gamma brainwave patterns. We've measured this so many times. And now the person is super conscious. They're super aware. And they're having an orgasm. They're in bliss. They are in absolute bliss. They're connecting to the field. Are you with me still? Now, when we do this breath, we put our attention on the top of the head. I ask people to inhale through their nose and pull that energy all the way to the top. And when they get to the top of their head, I ask them to keep those muscles contracted, not let them go, and hold their breath. Now, this is not a torture session. Because when you squeeze those muscles and you hold your breath, you're increasing pressure inside your spinal column called intrathecal pressure. You know when you lift something up and you go, you do that? You're pushing against your insides? Well, as you squeeze those muscles and hold your breath and squeeze a little bit more, I'm not asking you to turn purple and explode. All I want you to do is inhale slowly and pull that up, pull it up, pull it up, pull it up, and squeeze a little bit more, and just exert a little pressure up into your brain. Because right at the base of the third ventricle sits the pineal gland. And when that energy strikes the pineal gland, and you're holding your breath and you're pushing against that pineal gland, there's tiny little crystals in the pineal gland that are calcium carbonate crystals. And when you exert a mechanical stress on those crystals, it produces what's called the piezoelectric effect. It takes a mechanical stress and turns it into electromagnetic energy. And when that magnetic energy gets to a certain point and the crystals are stretched, all of a sudden the crystals contract and the field goes right back and produces another stress against the crystals, which then produces another electromagnetic field. And now, deet, 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 you got a little antenna going on up there. And you're awakening your pineal gland. Now, you listen closely. The moment that energy strikes the pineal gland, and that energy is very different than it was sitting down here. When it moves, by the time it strikes the pineal gland, it's a higher frequency. And it's going to begin to influence the chemistry of the gland. Are you listening closely? And all of a sudden, something magical happens. The pineal gland takes melatonin and begins to turn it into some very profound metabolites. Two of the most powerful antioxidants known to man: anti-cancer, anti-aging, anti-heart disease, anti-stroke, anti-neurodegenerative, antimicrobial, anti-inflammatory. Two molecules. You take that molecule and you just tweak it again by adding another methyl group or a few other carbon molecules, and now you have the same chemical found in hibernating animals. Why is that important? In hibernation, the body goes into stasis. There's no drives, there's no sex drive, there's no appetite. The body is no longer the mind. It's no longer bothering you. And if you're going to become a butterfly as a caterpillar, it might be a good idea that you want to get beyond your body. Yes or no? If you take that molecule and you tweak it again, you have the same chemical found in electric eels, a biophospholuminescent chemical that produces very high energy and amplitudes in the nervous system. You saw it on the charts last night. Yes? That's that chemical. The nervous system is becoming activated. Higher energy, higher amplitudes. And of course, the biophospholuminescent creates wonderful, pristine imagery and colors. You take that molecule, you tweak it again, and you have the most powerful hallucinogenic known to man, dimethyltryptamine. And all of a sudden, what's going on between your ears is way more real than anything that's in this realm. And your senses are heightened in that realm, and your awareness is heightened, you're conscious, and this is heightened, your brain is in gamma brainwave patterns, and it's processing a different energy. Are you with me still? Yes. And you go dimensional. It is the door to dimensions. You take that molecule and you tweak it again, and you make a benzodiazepine. You know what that is? Valium. It anesthetizes the analytical mind. It begins to relax the thinking brain. The person all of a sudden is calm. They feel safe. They're relaxed and super aware. And that's why our students can be in delta during their meditation, because those neurotransmitters are just chilling them out. They're relaxed. The unknown's happening, and they're not afraid of it. They're present with it. Do you understand? So then, the breath then is designed to pull the mind out of the body and to liberate this energy. And when the energy moves up into the brain, we've just measured this in Italy. Oh, we got a beautiful, beautiful three-dimensional picture of the brain when a person's in high gamma during the breath. And the whole neocortex is turned off, sedated, but in gamma. And the center of the pineal gland is bright red. This just proved our theory. It's beautiful. And that person was connecting to the unified field, and this center in the back of the brain connects you to that realm called time-space, where there's an eternal amount of time. In this realm, there's an eternal amount of space. In the quantum, you have an infinite amount of time. Time is eternal, and all of space, all dimensions exist in the eternal now, all possibilities. There is no past life or future life. It's all now. Do you understand? Yes. And then, when that occurs, what is equal to your own soul's evolution, things start to be revealed to you. And the biggest lie we've been ever told is that we're linear beings living a linear life. We are dimensional beings living a dimensional life. And when the doors of dimension open to you, and you get a glimpse of who you really are, you're not going to take your coworker so seriously. I swear to you. Because you're going to be in many dimensions. Your life is going to get very different. Are you with me still? Now, do you understand what I'm talking about? Yes? So let's give some pictures here to just cement it, and then we'll take a break. Okay? Poke the person next to you, please. And tell them that you're in love with their pineal gland. So, here's a magnet. You got it? Doesn't have a field like that. The field around the magnet looks like that. It's three-dimensional. Are you with me still? So then, if your body is a magnet, and you're more in survival than creation, and you've been thinking and feeling and stored all that energy as emotion in those first three centers, and now you're more matter and less energy, you're not running a current through your body. There's no magnet. So it's just like that piece of metal, but there's no field around it. There's no charge. And Asian cultures have known this for generations, because as you start to accelerate that energy, that fluid, and it begins to create that inductance field, you're activating a tube in your body called the prana tube that yogis have talked about for thousands of years. You're activating the movement of energy. And that begins to run a current, and as it passes up through each vertebral segment, there's nerves that go to different parts of your body, and all of a sudden, you're running a current through your nervous system as it passes through each center. Are you with me still? Yes. Did you get that? Yes. And all of a sudden, you have the movement of energy. And according to Asian cultures, all disease is the blocking of the flow of energy. So then they say, okay, the energy is not flowing through certain meridians, through certain pathways. Let's put some conductors called steel needles here, and we'll move the energy all the way out. Are you with me still? Yes. So when you do this breath, and you inhale, and you start moving this energy, you are going to create a current running through your body. You're going to feel it. And if you do the same things, you get the same things happening in your life. But if you try something different, you should have a different experience. Just saying. So pulling the mind out of the body, or what we call changing your energy. Here's a charged molecule. You accelerate it, it creates an inductance field around it. Did you see that? Watch again. You got it? If I take several more charged molecules and I accelerate them, I'm going to create a bigger field around it. Yes? So then, all this energy is sitting in the first three centers in your body, in the centers of survival. And you want to draw that energy from survival and take those survival emotions, turn them into creative emotions, elevated emotions. And it's like pulling fluid up a straw. You're pulling it up that tube, and you're creating an electromagnetic field. Does that make sense? And the only image that I use when I do this is just drawing fluid up a straw. I'm just pulling that energy up. I'm not thinking, I'm not analyzing, I'm not resisting. I just keep going. And I now know, I've done it enough times, I've been knocked unconscious by this energy so many times. And people are always worried about me, you know, I'm on the ground, and they're, oh my God, I'm having the time of my life. I just want you to know. So then, that field that's created is not a two-dimensional field. It's actually a three-dimensional field. It looks like this. Are you with me still? Yes. So, if you accelerate those charged molecules, you create this field called a torus field. And most of the universe is created from a torus field. You should know that, yes? So you have your own little universe going there. And as you begin to create this torus field, of course, you're drawing energy up from your body, and you're producing it in a field. Does that make sense? Yes. So then here's your sacrum bone down here. This is your target, way up here. As you contract those intrinsic muscles with your attention on the top of your head, and you're inhaling in one slow, steady breath, you're drawing that fluid all the way up into your brain. The moment it makes it up into your brain, it should begin to produce a measurable electromagnetic field. Are you with me still? Yes. But that field is not two-dimensional. The field is actually three-dimensional. Are you with me still? Yes. Now, is this making sense to you? Yes. Is knowledge the precursor to experience? Yes. The more knowledge you have, the more prepared you are for the event. Yes? Yes. So if you understand what you're doing and why, the how should get a little easier. Yeah? So then there's your target, you're inhaling, you're pulling this energy up, and the moment it strikes your brain, you should become a magnet. And you should begin to go from a piece of inert metal with no charge to running a current in your body and having a measurable electromagnetic field surrounding your body. You're running a current. You with me still? There you are. You're sitting there. You're contracting those intrinsic muscles. Your attention is on the top of your head, and you got to get past this center right here. Once it moves through the center, it starts to move pretty freely all the way up into your brain. The moment it reaches your brain, it produces an electromagnetic field. Yes? Yes. But that field is not two-dimensional. That field is actually three-dimensional. You with me still? Yes. So your breath should be your intent to raise your energy. Are you with me still? Your breath should be your will to transmute an emotion, a limited emotion, into an elevated emotion. Are you with me still? And you generate this field around your body. Now, check it out. As you do it, each one of these energy centers has a different frequency. So as you're moving them, there's slower frequency here, but as it moves up, the field gets a little tighter and a little faster. It's got to pass through this little tiny little passageway here, big container into a small container, and when it gets up in here, when it reaches your brain then, you produce a measurable electromagnetic field. How many people are understanding this? Now, I know people have done a lot of different breaths, and I know about Kundalini, but you've noticed I'm not using those words because I don't want to exclude anybody. Yes? But I'm asking you to do it this way and do it differently so you can have a different experience. How does that sound? So then, check this out, because this is the closest I can describe it. You got to get passionate, and when it reaches this fourth center, it begins to activate it. As it moves through this fifth center, some people get afraid of it because it can close their throat off. It moves to the sixth center right here, and finally when it moves into the brain, it's a very, very fast frequency, and all of a sudden, the energy moves even above your head, and you produce this electromagnetic field. But the cool thing is that there's a reverse field now. Now you're drawing information from the unified field. And now it's coming down through your centers into your body. And so many of our students, when they've done this, they've said, it was like my body was bathed in light. This cone of light came right through the top of my head, and my depression is gone. I mean, I'm telling you, those are their exact words. Are you with me still? Does that make sense to you? So now, we had this guy at one of our advanced workshops come up on the stage, and he said, hey, I travel for a living, and I had to go on a flight from Phoenix to Los Angeles, to Orange County, and I had a 6 o'clock flight, and there was a lot of traffic in Phoenix, and I got up at 3:30, and I packed, and I didn't have time to do my meditation. So what I did was, when I was driving in the Phoenix traffic, every time I came to a stoplight, I would close my eyes and do this breath. Now, I don't recommend this at all. But this is what he did. And he said I was having the most amazing experience, because he wasn't really expecting anything, and of course he just got into it, and all of a sudden that energy started to move, and every time he got to the light, he would be in bliss, and so he gets to the parking lot, parks his car, grabs his bag, runs the security line, throws his bag on the security line, and then he gets in the Tetra scan. The guy pulls him out of line, and he said to him, can I touch the top of your head? And he said, sure. So he leans over, he touches the top of his head, and he said, why are you touching the top of my head? And he goes, well, look at that. There's something coming out of the top of your head here. So I told that story in Austin last year, and there was a guy in the audience named Jorge, who was an engineer that worked for Halliburton and traveled for a living as well. Now, I've seen this guy move energy, and it has scared him many times. I have seen him, what it has done to him, and I've seen the look in his eye. And that energy came right down his hands and lit him up. And now he quit his job. He's not even an engineer. He's a healer now, because that energy is moving right through him. Are you with me? He said, he raised his hand in the audience, and he said, you're not going to believe this. Just a few weeks ago, I was in the Houston airport, and I was trying to catch a flight, and I went through the Tetra scan, and they pulled me out, and they asked if they could touch the top of my head. And it touched the top of his head, and he turned around, and he looked, and there was this big thing coming out of the top of his head. So then I said, hell, I'm going to try this. I travel a lot. But then I said, I'm going to change up the experiment. So what I'm going to do is, instead, I'm going to rest my attention in the center of my chest, because there's a big brain right in there, 60,000, 80,000 neurites. And I am going to breathe in and breathe out the love of God until I'm intoxicated. And I'm going to keep my energy there, and I'm going to radiate it beyond my body. And that energy is going to carry the intent for the greatest good of everybody who comes across my work. That's just what I wanted to do. So then I got really inspired, because you can always do it better when you're doing it for others. You know how that goes, right? This is a selfless center. So here I am. I'm just consumed. Meditation ends. I got a 6:30 flight. Boom, I'm out the door. And of course, I forget. And I get right into the thing, and I go like this, and boom, here goes the thing. And the guy takes me out, and he says his exact words, can I touch your chest?
Oh my God.
And I said, why? He said, are you wearing a medallion? I said, you mean, am I wearing bling? He goes, yeah, are you wearing some big medallion here? I say, no. He goes, well, can I touch your chest? So touches my chest, and I turn around, and there's just a huge yellow thing right here. And now, when we travel, when my staff travels, we always go, okay, let's see where we're going to do it. Let's see it. And Paula does it, and she opens her focus, and it's on her ears. It's just where you place your attention is where you place your energy. Are you with me still?
Yes.
Now, when I say that you have to go after this with a level of intensity that's greater than your body as your mind, that you can't let your body be your mind, and that when we play the music, you have to interpret the music as the movement of energy. You got to become inspired and invincible. You got to get big, because that starts the process. It actually activates gamma in the brain when you do that. Are you with me still? You can't sit there and go, oh, I don't know if I can do this, or I'm just going to wait. And nothing's going to happen for you. You understand? You got to go after it. And so as you start inhaling and contracting these muscles, you're waking up that sleeping dragon, and all those rolled up charged molecules that are just energy stored in your body are going to unravel, and that energy is going to travel to your brain. And when it does, there goes all the guilt. There goes all the pain. There goes all the aggression. It's turning into pure energy, and it's going right up into your brain. Because if the emotion is stored in the body's in the past. So you are freeing yourself and creating a field. Are you with me still? And I'm telling you, I watched that lady, 78 years old, in Los Angeles. I watched her head kick back, and I watched that energy strike her in the brain. She walked right up to the stage, and she said, I haven't felt like this in 40 years. I said, that's energy, honey. And she was pretty awake. So you can't tell me you're too old to do this. Not after that lady. So then, if there's a marching band, and the marching band is moving like this, and the first person stops, what's going to happen to everybody else? Yeah? So if you're drawing this energy up, and this happens to so many people, you got to get all this energy from a big container right through this little passage here. And when you start thinking about who's feeding your cat back home, or how long you're going to do this, and you lose your attention, that energy is going to stop right in your throat. And some people get nauseous. Some people, their throat closes up. Sometimes they get dizzy because they've lost their focus just before it gets to their brain. You understand? You've got to follow it the whole way. And if you're analyzing and thinking, you're in the way. All I want you to do is just keep following the instructions. Now, we're not going to do it yet, but I'm just talking about this. Yes? Because you're all looking at me like, oh, God. This guy's for real. I liked him up until this point. Now we got to do something. So then, when that energy finally releases into the brain, then the body, the channel is opened up, and you have a very strong field. And now you feel connected. You feel euphoric because the body's being freed from the past. You understand that, yes? And so now, before we break, let's do this. Sit up. We're going to break in a minute. Can you give me your best for a few minutes here? Okay, now, all I want you to do is lift up your perineum, your pelvic floor. Just lift it up. The muscles you use for elimination, the muscles you use for intercourse, just lift them up. Lift it up and hold it. Become aware. Are you doing that? Yes. So you're having an experience, yes? Yes? You're doing something differently, and you're creating a new neurological network, yes? Yes. Causing the string together in a different way. Relax. Come on, gentlemen. Lift them up. Up again. Lift them up again. Come on, perineum, just lift it up. You didn't think you'd be doing Pilates on a Sunday morning, did you? Hold it up. Come on, I'm doing it with you. You're milking that center. You're using those muscles in a different way. Relax. You with me still? Yes. Here we go again. Lift again. You're creating a neurological network, firing and wiring. Hold it up. Hold it up. Lift it up a little bit more. Come on. No faces. And relax. You got that one now? Yes. Turn the person next to you and tell them you got it. All right, here we go now. We're building a model here. We're building, taking steps, just like learning a golf swing. You got to learn steps. Perineum, lower abdomen, first two centers. Lift it up. Perineum, lock down your lower abdomen. Pull it up and in, just those two centers, and squeeze. You can breathe. Don't hold your breath yet. And relax. You got that one? Let's do it again. Come on, perineum, lower abdomen. Lift them up and hold. Come on, I'm doing it with you. And relax. Come on, one more now. Perineum, lower abdomen. And this time, I want you to think if you can contract them a little more than you are. Right there. Squeeze a little more. You got control over those? Come on, you're pulling your abdomen in and up, First two centers. Squeeze, lift your perineum with it, and relax. You got the first two? Turn the person next to you and tell them you got it. All right, now ready? Here we go. First center, first, second, third. Lower perineum, lower abdomen, upper abdomen. Lift them up and in and squeeze. Come on, all three. Come on, you got to sit up for this. Come on, squeeze. Lift that perineum up. Pull in that lower abdomen, upper abdomen. Hold it, hold it, hold it, and relax. How was that? You're burning calories. Think about it like that. You're going to have a cookie on the break because you're burning calories. All right, here we go. Perineum, lower abdomen, upper abdomen again. Come on, pull them up and in and squeeze. Your core, first three centers. Squeezing the toothpaste from the bottom. Hold it and relax. Come on, don't look at me like I don't like you anymore. Don't do it. Come on, here we go. Perineum, lower abdomen, upper abdomen. One more time, squeeze. Come on, pull them up and in. Hold. Make sure you're breathing. And relax. You got that? Turn the person next to you and tell them you got it. Take your finger, place it on the top of your head, and take your fingernail and work it in there. Now, here's my question. If you take your hand away, can you still feel that point? Yeah. So you can put your awareness there, yeah? So if you have your attention there, your energy's there, yes? That's your target. You with me still? Take your finger, work it in there again. You got it? Take it away. Can you become aware of that point? Okay, now listen closely. You are not going to contract any muscles now. Did you hear me? But what we're going to do is we're going to practice following the breath. So listen closely. I'm going to ask you in a minute, not now, to close your eyes, and I'm going to ask you to take a slow, steady breath through your nose. Are you listening? And you're going to follow your breath from your perineum, through your lower abdomen, through your upper abdomen, through your chest, through your throat, through your brain, right to the top of your head. And when you get to the top of your head, you're going to hold your breath and keep your attention right there. You got that? Take your finger, work it in one more time. Now sit up straight. Keep that channel straight open here now. Okay, now take your hands down, close your eyes, put your attention on the top of your head. And now, in one slow, steady breath, inhale through your nose and follow your breath from your perineum, through your lower abdomen, through your upper abdomen, through your chest, through your throat, through your brain, all the way to the top of your head. And when you get to the top of your head, hold your breath and keep your attention on the top of your head and let your energy follow your awareness. And hold it. And now you can exhale and relax. How'd you do? Okay, take your finger, work it in. Come on, I want you to have this experience. Work it in there. Okay, take your finger away. Sit up straight, eyes closed, like drawing fluid up a straw. I want you to inhale through your nose while you keep your attention on the top of your head. Follow your breath from your perineum all the way up your spine to the top of your head. And when you get to the top of your head, hold your breath and keep your attention at the top of your head and let your energy follow your awareness. And hold it. And as you exhale, relax. You did good on that. Now, let's put it all together, and then we'll break. Here's how we're going to do this. Listen closely. You're going to take your finger and work it into the top of your head. Now, listen closely. At the exact same time that you inhale through your nose, you're going to lift up those lower centers and contract all those intrinsic muscles. Your intent is to pull that energy from those lower centers all the way up into your brain. That's what your breath represents. Do you understand? Yes. When you get to the top of your head, I'm going to ask you to hold your breath and squeeze those muscles. And I'm going to say to you, squeeze a little more. And I want you to lift up and squeeze a little more. And you're going to start bumping up against the crystals of that pineal gland, exerting a mechanical stress there. Okay? Don't get mad at me. Just do this with me, okay? Okay. Take your finger, work it on the top of your head. Hands down. Now, close your eyes. Remember, the intention is to pull this energy from those first 3 centers into your brain. Remember the tube that exists there, like drawing fluid up a straw. Now, inhale, and at the exact same time, lift those muscles up and in, and follow your breath. Come on, pull those muscles up and in, and follow your breath. Perineum, lower abdomen, upper abdomen, through your chest, through your throat, through your brain, all the way to the top of your head, and hold your breath. Keep your attention on the top of your head, and squeeze those muscles. Come on, squeeze a little more. And lift up and hold right there, right there. Hold right there. Hold it. Hold it. Hold it. And as you exhale, relax. Oh my God, he's trying to kill us. Okay, last one and then we'll break. Finger on the top of the head. Come on, give me your best. That's all I ever want from you. Hands down. Come on, you can do this. Now, make it happen this time. Sit up straight, eyes closed, and in one slow, steady breath, with the intention of pulling the mind out of the body, inhale and lift those muscles up and in, and pull that energy from those lower 3 centers all the way up into your brain. And when you get to the top of your head, keep those muscles contracted and hold your breath. Hold it. Hold it. Hold it. And as you exhale, relax. Oh my God. Now, when we break, when you come back, I have some entertainment for you. I'm going to show you some amazing clips of people doing some of the most amazing things. And you are going to get some of those elevated emotions going. And we got to get those chemicals and those juices flowing, because after that, we're going to pull the mind out of the body, and then we are going to recondition the body to a new mind. And you're going to get out feeling very differently than when you started. Let me tell you how the rest of the morning is going to go for you Newtonian physicists that need to predict your future. I'm going to show you some media files of people doing some amazing things to touch you emotionally in different places and in different ways, just to get those chemicals going of the elevated emotions, so that when we get into the meditation, when we pull the mind out of the body, and I know you have a lot of questions, and I know it's difficult to figure out what you're doing, but I'm going to review it many, many times today. How does that sound? And just like when you learn how to snowboard or you learn how to knit or whatever, in the beginning it takes a lot of conscious effort, yeah? And then when you start getting it down, you relax a little bit more and it becomes a coordinated motion. So be kind to yourself, okay? I'm setting you up for the experience, and you have enough information, but I'll review it, and then after you do it, I'll review it again, and you'll meet truth at a different level. You'll hear it differently because you've had the experience. Are you with me still? Yes. So, can you give me your best? Yes. Your absolute best? Yes. Okay. When you're confused, you're always about ready to learn something. Remember that. Here we go. One eye on the screen, one eye on your partner. Lower the lights, please.